Everybody, welcome. Your saltwater guide, Captain Dave Hansen. I have a new co-host on Tuesdays for a while, Michael Fowlkes, Inside Sport Fishing, the history of sport fishing. You all grew up watching him. Today, we're going to do something we haven't ever done before. Mike's been on the show a couple times, but Michael and I have never sat down and answered comments. I told everybody on my podcast yesterday, we're going to try to get to as many of your questions as we possibly can today. And Michael has this great docu-series that's out. I've talked about it almost every single day on my podcast. Michael's been on the show a couple times with me talking about it. But gang, what's amazing to Kelly Girl and I is that every single one of you haven't seen this yet. So today we're going to go down the rabbit hole with Michael. I'm going to let him talk about the show for a little bit. And as the questions come in, we have no idea where the show is going to go. So you guys are running the show today. Michael's going to talk a little bit about the docuseries and what it was like making it. But then I'll be watching the comments. Whatever question you have, gang, we're going to get to the questions, and this could lead us anywhere. Michael's been in the industry for a very long time. He ran charter boats. He was a deckhand, a pinhead. He's done everything. Then Inside Sport Fishing, he started that, and gang, all of us watched that show. Those of us on the inside, we were just hoping for a moment on the show. And we would watch, and we knew all the players, but we would always hope that we could be on the show with you, Michael. And here we are.
Yep. What, 30 years later?
40.
40. That's scary, isn't it?
It is absolutely amazing.
It's mind-boggling how fast this time flies by.
Yeah, so talk about this docuseries a little bit. John Stanley, one of my closest, dearest friends, he's just telling you he's all the way up to episode 3. He paid for the whole package. And John, isn't it absolutely an amazing docuseries? If you're into fishing at all, or if you're just into the United States of America, you got to watch this thing. I learned so much about our forefathers on this thing.
I'm glad you said that, David, because this film really is about how fishing has woven itself into the fabric of America's soul. And it really goes deeper than just a rod, reel, and a piece of string, and techniques and tackle and species and locations. It really talks about the essence of what the sport means to me as an individual, and you as an individual. And I think every one of us that fishes has a similar, if not the same type of experience of just being at one with the sport, and how it's become a part of America's history. I just think it's fascinating. And, you know, ever since the first colonists set foot here, and how they brought fly rods with them, and, you know, they fished for survival, obviously, and not sport. But as the Revolutionary War drew closer, you know, the most interesting fact of the whole series that I find the most interesting part of the whole series was that our forefathers in 1832 or 1732, 37 in that neighborhood, they formed a fishing club called the Schuylkill Fishing Club, which was formed along a river on the banks of what is now Philadelphia. And this club enabled them to get together and talk about the Revolutionary, the war, and what it was going to take to become independent from Great Britain. And had they been caught, these guys would have been hung for treason. And Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Patrick Henry. I mean, the forefathers, the gentlemen that wrote the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence, did that under the guise of the Schuylkill Fishing Club. And they nicknamed it the Castle. And it still stands today where it was originally built. And it's the longest standing, continually operative social club in the English-speaking language. So,
isn't that amazing? That is just, see, this is what I'm talking about, gang.
Really cool stuff.
The history of sport fishing is also the history of America. And if you're living in America or you're not, you're watching us somewhere else in the world, you want to find out about the history of America, this is pretty spectacular because he throws in the fishing part of it. So he gets guys like me to pay attention to history. And then the next thing you know, I'm telling stories when I'm out on the boat about how George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, those guys never went anywhere without their little tackle box.
Yeah. George Washington actually carried a little, what they call a a coarse fishing kit, which is basically like a tin box. He would carry that with him into battle. Everywhere he went, George Washington had his fishing line with him, which I just think is fascinating. So it's just,
those kind of things are just incredible that we would have never known if it wasn't for your docuseries about how it all came together.
Yep.
And how fishing became a sport instead of fishing for sustenance. As you go through this docuseries, gang, you're going to just learn a ton of stuff. And a little bit later in the show, just keep watching. We're going to throw the QR code up so you guys can all get a piece of this. And you're not even going to, the information that you get from this is just incredible. Just so incredible how we learn about how nobody wanted to fish for largemouth bass. They were considered garbage, and the purest trout fishermen, and how that all evolved and rolled. There's our good buddy, Bill DePriest. Hey, Bill, good to see you. And just all the different things that occurred in the United States of America in my favorite pastime, which is fishing. And it's just, Michael, you did this so bitchin'. And for guys like me that grew up watching you, and you and I grew up together, but I grew up watching your shows because of the eloquent way you tell the story. And you taught me something a long time ago. People aren't watching the show to see me. And I was like, huh? What are you talking about? And if you go back to his history of inside sport fishing, there's very, very, very few times you're on camera.
Nope. No, it was always about the sport, and never about me as a personality. It was always about the love of the sport and getting to interview people just like yourself, Dave, in the show, and captains and guides from around the world that you've forgotten more about fishing than I'll ever know. And be able to interview someone like you to talk about local knowledge or what to do on the backside of Catalina for the white sea bass if they're doing this or if they're doing that or if the tide's doing this. Getting to talk to people like you about your experiences, a lifetime of experiences on the water since you were 3 years old, with your dad there on the pier. So it's been an honor and a privilege to be able to be a part of this industry and the way that I've gotten to do it. And this film series to me is the culmination of my life's work. And it really is truly a tribute to the sport. We're not trying to sell a product. We're not trying to sell a rod or reel or some new sunglass or suntan lotion or something. We're promoting the sport from within, if you will, from what the essence of the sport is all about. And it's completely different than inside sport fishing. It's not an action-packed, on the edge of the seat, keep you glued to the screen. But it's a marathon of the entire spectrum of the sport, from how, like you said, how it evolved from an active survival, that if you didn't know how to hunt and fish and farm, you didn't eat. So it went from an active survival and evolved into a sport it's a fascinating story.
Yes, it is. Our good friend Daniel, who owns the company called Real Quick, he's got that new.
Oh yeah.
He just mentioned that him and his partner Steve came to your house and got to see the museum. If you guys see right behind Michael, it is an absolute museum. I'm still bummed that my dad never got to see it, but I sure am glad that I've seen it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Whenever Todd and I would come up there, Todd and I would just
start drooling.
Hours just mesmerized by all the cool stuff you have in your garage, which we can't let that go either, gang. We got to make sure we all watch the history of sport fishing, because we do not want Michael to get rid of that garage. Damn it. We definitely don't want you to get rid of the garage.
Yep.
I want to show you guys the very first part of this show, and then we're going to talk about, like Michael said, when I was fishing with my dad when I was 3. Watch this. And if this doesn't touch your heart, you probably don't have one.
I remember the very first time I went fishing. I was 3 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. I didn't know what my dad did. I just know he left for work every day. When he came home at night, he was covered in salt and scales, fish scales. And I didn't even know what a fish scale was, but they were all over his shirt, his pants, his belt. I remember chewing on his belt when I was a baby because it had salt on it. And it felt good in my mouth when I was teething. I swear, I remember all this like it was yesterday. I know it's hard to think that you remember this stuff when you're a little kid, but I do. 3 years old, sitting on the counter. We're going on the afternoon trip with my dad. and my mom putting my shoes on while I'm sitting on the counter telling me we're going fishing with my dad. He was running the Some Fun off the pier, and the boat was tying up to the pier, and I was sitting on the rail with my mom holding me, and she's saying, "That's your dad." And him coming out on the back of the boat, and him waving at me and saying, "Hi, David." Oh, I had no idea this was going to hit me this hard. But yeah, I'm 60 years old, and I remember it like it was right now. And then we went to go down the ramp and get on the boat. It was incredible, and that was it. I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I wanted to fish.
I love Ryan's post. I'm going to bring you a salty belt to chew on at the show. Pretty good.
Gang, there's the QR code. If you want to be a part of this docuseries, and you do, you definitely do. You don't even know you do, but I'll tell you what, once you start to watch this, you're going to binge watch it. You're going to be blown away. And then Michael's going to be at the Pacific Coast Sport Fishing Show in our booth. We don't know which day. He'll show up. It'll be a guest celebrity appearance. And then you can talk to him about the show and about, you want to be on the inside. So get this thing sooner than later. I'm going to pull the QR code down here in a second. You can go back and watch the podcast later and get the QR code, because I want to be throwing questions up right where the QR code goes. But that's how you get this docuseries. There's no other way to get it. You have to get it. You have to purchase it. You have to stream it. It's not that hard. We'll help you through it. If you do get it and you don't understand how to do it, just call me on the phone. My phone number is on every bathroom wall in America. 949-374-0786. Those of you that are old like myself, don't let the internet scare you. This streaming thing is easy. I will help you. Don't be afraid. Just call me. I'm 63 years old. Michael's a little bit older. We didn't know poop all about the internet. Thank God for Elliot Andrews.
Yep.
Here we both are sitting here today as influencers. We got hundreds of thousands of followers. We can't understand either one of us, but here we are. And this docuseries is insane. And that little piece you just saw, that's just a very, very tiny bit, but that's what it's all about. It's going to bring you down memory lane with your family. It's going to bring tears to your eyes. It's going to bring joy to your heart. And you're going to learn about America while you're doing it, which is a pretty damn good trip, Michael.
Pretty cool.
It's a pretty good trip.
Yeah, we just tell them who just got signed up with today.
And then guess who's starting to follow Michael now? Donald J. Trump Jr. Unbelievable. That guy's got a few followers on.
Yeah. So he's gonna have to work hard to keep up with your 17 million views last couple days on that one post, David.
Oh, it's incredible. I don't know what's going on Instagram. We're at 16.7 million views on that. Tommy Gomes and I doing the swordfish spinal cord, and all we're trying to do, Michael, is put it on a spoon. That's the whole 1 minute, is us trying to get it to go on the spoon, and everybody wants to watch it. It doesn't.
Yeah, a little salt and pepper, and then you swallowed it whole.
Then I swallowed it. I'll do anything for a view.
I'm looking at all these comments. I'm flat. I'm honored, and thanks you guys, Jim, Sean, everybody that's Scott, everybody that's posting stuff. I really appreciate it, because I think this series is really gonna find its traction through word of mouth. So if you guys will share what you've had with your friends and other guys that you know love to fish, and we've got it down. It's $4.99. You can buy the thing for $4.99, and you can cancel anytime. So it's you buy the whole set a little bit more expensive, but it's just. And also, you were talking about Inside Sport Fishing. We got a bonus package on there for $75, where you get 24 feature-length films from the history of sport fishing, including a tribute to tuna, big boat, big fish, jig chuckers ball, marlin off the rocks, midway. I mean, some really phenomenal shows are thrown in there as a bonus package. And also, every dollar that you sign up for, a portion of that is going to go to conservation. So we're paying it forward with every dollar. So, sign up for $4.99, and half of that's going to go to community conservation efforts, or a good portion of it. So, know your money's being spent well, and it's being spent to help protect and secure and preserve the sport for generations.
So John Stanley has a great question, Michael. I'm thinking about it while we're talking. If you could make a dream team crew, who would be on it? The captain would be Steve Lasley.
Lasley's pretty he's amazing. Old school.
It would have to be him and Grossbeck, and then we'd fill it in with a bunch of other people. But those two young men would have to be a part of the crew. That's for damn sure.
Well, they're probably two of the most knowledgeable and experienced, especially marlin fishermen on the West Coast. And absolutely.
Oh yeah, those guys. And then we could fill it in with some deckhands and stuff like that, John Stanley. But it'd be hard to get a better captain. Either one of those two guys could captain the ship, but the two of them together, they work so well together. That's Team Bad Company, gang. That's the guys that won all the tournaments, won all the money, did all the cool stuff, been all around the world. So those two guys are right there at the top of my list. That's a Mount Rushmore of fishing in California, as far as I'm concerned.
I put Jenny Armstrong on there as a deck captain.
Yeah. She's not going to let anybody get away with nothing.
She doesn't let anybody get away with anything. She's hardcore.
Yeah. Great
stick too.
And then I don't know. We'll have to figure the rest of it out. That's a good question though. And Michael, you have an app with this also, Matt Ryan's talking about. So there's an app involved for this.
Yeah, the app is what we had to put together in order to be able to stream it. So the app is the historyofsportfishing.com. And if you go to it's the www.thehistoryofsportfishing.com, and that takes you to the homepage, which is the app, and that's where you can sign up and you can stream it directly from there. And once you're streaming it, you can cast it. If you've got a smartphone or a smart TV, you can just cast it from your phone to your big screen, or you can go to Apple Play or Google Play on your smart TV and just click on that and then type in the history of sport fishing. It'll come up there too. So you can watch it on your big screen, laptop, tablet, whatever you want to do, your phone. And part of the goal is, obviously, when we first started to make the film back in 2019, when I talked to Netflix and Lionsgate, National Geographic, the History Channel, ESPN, all the major streaming services, they all loved the idea. They said it's a great, fascinating idea. They were buying everything they could get their hands on back prior to COVID. And then after the strike, Hollywood basically kind of imploded on itself, and they're not buying anything really other than high-end, big-name celebrity blockbuster films and stuff. They're not producing and acquiring a lot of footage. So the president of Lionsgate, Jim Packer, said, listen, you guys set up an app, let your guys know that it's out there and it's available, and we'll track it. And if there's enough people signing up to watch it, then we'll know there's a viable market, and we'll come back to you and probably license it from you for worldwide rights. So what we're trying to do right now is just get enough anglers, show the studios that anglers are a viable audience and that we do care, and that there's enough of us out there that can make a difference. And I think that's part of why Donald Trump Jr. signed up, because I sent him a note and let him know that there's 50 million of us worldwide or nationwide in this country. 50 million Americans over the age of 16 sign up for pay to have a fishing license every year. 300 million worldwide. And that's at 17% of the audience. 17% of the entire American population fishes. And that's a demographic that I've never heard Trump or any other politician address and be concerned with what our needs are, what our wants are, to preserve our fisheries, to preserve our waterways, to keep clean water, healthy environment for our marine environment, our freshwater environments. And I think that's part of the reason why they signed up, because of the message that's woven throughout the film, is that because there's an extreme element out there today. Obviously, you guys know that the leftists are wanting to close everything down, and they basically want to abolish fishing. Frankie even addresses it. So does Bill Shedd in the film, talking about the single greatest threat to our sport today is the extreme environmentalists that want to abolish the sport. They want to abolish it. They want to make it illegal for a man to have a rod and reel and take his grandkid fishing. And so the film talks about this and kind of weaves its story throughout the entire commercial versus sport techniques for harvest. Looking at that long text there. But anyway, it's I lost my train of thought. It's important that I think we unify. You look at the NRA; they're a powerful lobbyist force, and fishermen, we don't have that. We've got CCA, we've got ASA, some really good organizations that are working hard to protect and conserve our sport. But as a group, most of us have a wheelhouse mentality. All I care about is what's going on my boat. Where am I? What am I doing? Is everything running right? Am I going to be able to find the fish? When I find the fish, is the gear going to work, or we're going to catch them? And so we all go through that with our personal gear as well as our boats. And I think it's important, and hoping that this film will kind of unite us as an industry, and let the legislative branches of our government, and those that make the laws, know that you cannot hurt a fishery with a rod, reel, and a piece of string. You just can't do it. I don't care how good of an angler you are. You cannot hurt a fishery with a rod, reel, and a piece of string. But you take 10,000 long line hooks and endless miles of gill nets and wrap the planet, just stretch that stuff across the globe. It's going to decimate the oceans, which we're seeing already. So that, and we've got to watch our plastic we cover the plastic, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch in the film, and what's being done right now by a group called Ocean Cleanup to help eliminate the plastics in our ocean. And a vast majority of those plastics are from commercial discard, commercial long lines and nets that are busted loose and causing all sorts of havoc. So, sign up, watch the show, know that part of your money is going to go to conservation, and you're helping to secure your sport we love for generations to come.
And something I told our viewers that we would talk about today, Michael, and the docuseries is what we're going to talk about. Michael's going to be my guest for a while here on Tuesdays now. He's going to be my co-host for a while. So, gang, think about all the questions you have about all the things you used to watch when you were little kids growing up, watching Inside Sport Fishing. Talk about, I don't know if I should get history of sport fishing. Think of all the questions. We're going to answer all of them as we go along on this. But one thing that we're in big trouble here on the West Coast, Michael, and
I don't even recycle. I'm listening to these comments, Dave. I'm sorry, it cracks me up. I don't even recycle styrofoam anymore.
Yeah,
don't even use it.
The biggest problem that we have on the West Coast right now is they're going to take away a fish that the whole industry on the West Coast, I don't care if you're Bill Poole, Frank Lopresti, if you're Frank Ursetti, Don Hansen, this whole industry on the West Coast was built on the back of a fish that they are going to ban from us fishing for on June 1st, 2025. And it's the barred sand bass. They're going to change, and they're going to make it a zero take fish, Michael. And that we have to get the word out. We all, like Michael said a little while ago, it's time to unite, gang. The games are over. This is all coming to a head here. If this fish leaves and we're not allowed to fish for it anymore, you will not have a sport boat to go fishing on, gang. You don't understand how dire this is. My sister called me up the other day telling me how dire this situation was, Michael, and she couldn't sleep. I don't think she still has any sleep. This was the fish that built the Southern California sport fishing industry. We're the most unique fishing industry on the planet. There's nothing like the Southern California sport boat fleet. Nothing like it. But none of it would have ever been built if it wasn't for the barred sand bass, which migrates from Mag Bay and all the different bays, lagoons, up and down the Baja coast, and they migrate up here when the water gets cold. Now, I'm just trying to let everybody know what the hell's going on, and I didn't mean to use a cuss word, but I'm pretty devastated. We've been in a warm water cycle for the last 11 years. So you cannot take our fish counts and make a scientific closure by the sport fishing boats fish counts, because this fish, migrates from the bays and lagoons of Baja, California. When the water gets warm, they boogie up the California coast. Well, these fish went right on by.
Past us. Yep.
They went right on by us, and they went to places they've never seen them before. And that's why you don't see a fish count. I explained this with Wayne Coda last Friday. Here's how it works, gang, and it works this way always, and it will never not work this way. Coming out of Newport, or coming out of Dana Point, or coming out of San Diego, or coming out of Oceanside, the boats would get together in the morning. We'd all get together while we're having our coffee before we left, and we go, okay, Seahorse is going to go down in 12 fathoms. The Dana Pride's going to go down in 15 fathoms. The Cypelers is going to go down in 11 fathoms. The Nautilus is going to go down in 13 fathoms. The Freelance is going to go down in 14 fathoms. And we're all going down the coast with our sonars going and our fish finders going, and we're all picking a depth. And then boom, Freelance finds them in 14 fathoms. Boom, we all go park around it in 14 fathoms. Now all the Pedro boats and all the San Diego boats all come to the clam beds. Bam, we find them. You don't have that happening anymore. There's none of that. There's no camaraderie. There's no let's go find the fish together and all make a bunch of, that doesn't happen anymore. So you're not seeing the fish because no one's looking for the fish. I'm sorry. You're not going to find it in a pair of binoculars, looking out on the horizon, seeing bird schools. You're not going to find it that way. So to tell us that this fish doesn't exist, well, first of all, nobody's looking for them. Nobody. I don't care if you say you are, because you're a liar. I know what the sport boats do. They go to the rockfish spot, or they go to the kelp. There's nobody in a coordinated
scouting efforts.
No one's doing that anymore. So that's one reason why you don't see any of them in the fish count. The other reason is because we're lobbing 8-inch sardines at a 14-inch fish that he can chew on it, but he can't eat it. So you're not going to have the tourists catching them, because the sardine they're hooking to their line is bigger than any fish they've ever caught in their life. Okay? Now, there's plenty of anchovies. There's plenty of sardines. These fish are bait fish. They're cyclical. So when you have all this warm water, you don't have the influx of anchovy. You saw the anchovies for the last 10 years off the beach. They weren't on now they're on the beach because the water's cold again. And the sardines have moved off the beach to where the warm water. Gang, it's all cyclical. So if you think you thought you knew, you don't know shit. Sorry. Now all the kids watching get a free hat. But listen, this is devastating to our industry. It's time to remove head from rectum. Now I know all you sport boat captains say you don't watch my show, but boy, you can tell me every single thing I say every single day on my show. So we know you're watching. It's time to remove your head from your rectum and get involved, because you guys are going to have to go find a real job if you don't get involved. The industry is going to go away June 1st. We have an opportunity to all get involved on February 12th. There's a giant meeting, and we're going to put the link up as soon as it's available, and we can all jump online. And there's one woman that's doing all this, Michael. She's the one that took the sand bass from 12 inches to 14 with no science. And the same day, she took the spotted bay bass from 12 inches to 14. And on the same day, she took the calico bass from 12 to 14. Like I said yesterday on my show, you can make calico bass have to be 1,000 pounds to catch. But if you don't know how to fish, you're still not going to catch them. This has nothing to do with fish. It has nothing to do with fish, gang. It's got to do with control and overreach by some booger eaters that are in office that should never have gotten there. And they're doing this all emotionally driven. But I'm telling you, it's time to remove head from rectum. Take your thumb out of your mouth, because this is going to be the year of the sand bass. You guys, a lot of you sport boat captains haven't seen this before.
They'll come back massive.
Just like the albacore.
Yep.
You haven't seen it before, so you don't know how to go look for it. There's no one teaching you. And I know there is some captains, but they're old. They're old like me, and they're not teaching these kids today what to go out there and look for. We're going to come into a cold water cycle this June, July, and August. That's when the sand bass showed up historically.
Yep.
That's how the industry was built. If we're not allowed to fish for the only fish left that we get to fish for, it's over, gang, and you're going to have to go get a real job. Can you imagine all these sport boat captains have to be out there looking for jobs?
Well, can you imagine the state telling us what we can and can't fish for without the science to back it? If they had scientific data that was saying, you know, like, these fish are endangered, we've got to put a moratorium on them, I can understand that, but they don't understand the fishery. And like you said, these fish come in 20-year cycles. We'll get into a 20-year cold cycle where those sea bat or those white spotted sandies, they'll be everywhere.
And bass.
Yeah, bass, barracuda, bonita, they'll be in here thick. But in the warm water, they just kept going north to get into the zone that they wanted to be in. So that's why we don't see them. That's why I haven't seen them in the last 10 or 12 years in any kind of numbers. The flats used to be wide open, 1,000 fish a day, you know, and they'll come back. They'll come back. They haven't gone anywhere.
But we're not going to be able to fish for them.
Not if we don't take a stand. And that's what we were saying earlier, David, about this, the fact that, you know, men like Frank Lopresti and Bill Shedd. I mean, those are guys. Shedd's a genius when it comes to environmental issues and it comes to conservation. And their company and their father and their family has done so much for conservation. And when Bill Shedd says the single most dangerous threat that we face as an industry is the extreme environmentalist, the extreme left. So hopefully with this new election, this new president we've got coming in, a lot of that's going to change. But in the meantime, like you said, they're trying to push laws through us. They're trying to push stuff through right now that'll prohibit us from being able to go fishing. So
and here's something my sister said, Michael, and now that you're connected with Donald J. Trump Jr., maybe we can get the word out. I believe, and my sister believes, that Mr. Gavin Newsom does not quite understand what this young lady's planning. And I think if Gavin Newsom was made aware of it, Gavin Newsom would take away her overreach. I don't think he is as evil as everyone makes him out to be. I believe that he has some evil people working for him.
Absolutely.
He's very busy building his $9 million house and very busy trying to get as much of our money as he can before he leaves, because he's only got a little bit longer there. But I think if anybody's listening that has a way to talk to him, somebody needs to talk to him. And there's so many people that watch us, millions and millions of views today on Instagram alone. There's got to be somebody in this giant group of human beings that can go over there and say, hey, Gavin, you may want to look at this. This is kind of important. Because listen, gang, when we don't buy a fishing license and we don't have a business, you're not going to get any of our money for taxes, gang. I don't know why you can't wrap your head around that, politicians, but when we quit, all these businesses go away, which is going to happen on June 1st. All these landings close and all this stuff goes away. You're not going to get any of that income. You're not going to be able to build your $9 million house. I think somebody just needs to go tap him on the shoulder and just let him know. I don't think he wants us to not fish. I just think he doesn't know what's about to happen.
I don't know. I have no idea. I just know that if we don't stand up as a union, if we don't stand up as a group of people that care about the outdoors and let our voices be heard, we won't have a voice, because it'll be over. It'll be over. Somebody, Bill Shedd said, it's like the train has left the station and it's coming, but we don't even know it yet. It's going to hit us and run us over before we even know it happened. So it's all these politicians, this left-wing stuff is all really non-transparent, behind the scenes. Just the fact that we even know about this ban is a pretty amazing feat in itself. But if we don't stand together, we're not going to be able to stand at all as fishermen. They'll take it away from us. I hate to say it, because I hate the downer that it makes me feel like, just know that that's even a threat that we're facing, but it's a real threat.
And, you know, there's a couple of other websites out there that are into the fishing in Southern California, but they absolutely hate Dave Hansen. So for that reason alone, they won't put the word out there, because they think it's going to help. It isn't going to help me, for God's sakes. I'm going to keep rocking in the free world, baby. I'm not going anywhere. You can hate me all you want. But but it's time to remove your head from your rectum, sport boat guys. You need to tell every one of the passengers that come on your boat, you need to make something. You need to tell everybody to show up to this meeting online on the 12th. Unless you're ready to go work in a restaurant, unless you're ready to go be a bartender, unless you're ready to do that, you don't understand what's about to happen. I don't care if you like me or you hate. I don't really care. I got millions of followers, so you don't matter anyway. But
we all do matter.
You're gonna have to get a real job, ding dong. Oh, I'm not gonna share this because Dave Hansen's talking about it. Well, you are brain dead, and I'm just trying to help you guys. You don't understand. I'm trying to help you guys. I live in Cabo. Do you think I care if your sport boat runs tomorrow or not? I don't, but you should. And that's what I'm trying to do, is wake you up. You're all listening to me. Pretend like you're not. That's fine. I don't really care, but you need to wake up, gang. You guys didn't show up. You didn't show up. You didn't show up during the rockfish closures, and you're all crying about it now and sucking your thumb. And I begged you guys to show up, and you didn't show up. Well, they're going to take your sand bass away. So no rockfish, no sand. What are you guys going to do? What are you going to do in cold water year? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm open. Leave a comment. Tell me what you're going to do for a living when you have nothing left to fish for. I don't know, Michael. I'm pissed. I just can't understand why none of these sport boat operators and landing owners want to put out any of this information and make people aware of what's happening. I don't get it.
I don't either. All I can say is that when I ran my boat, my head was so focused on just the boat itself, and making sure that the boat was running and that everything was operating, that I didn't care what was going on the beach. I didn't care. I didn't have time to care. I didn't have enough energy to care about what was going on the beach. Politics was the last thing on my mind. I could care less what the politicians were doing. But what they've done, obviously with the closures, and what they're continuing to do with more closures and more restrictions, are eventually going to erode us to a point where like you said, the landings won't be able to maintain it. They won't be able to maintain themselves because they won't have any customers, because there's nothing to take them fishing for, because it's all been banned. So we really got to unite. And it just means, talking to CCA, I probably would be my number one choice. If you're going to donate any money or talk to somebody, talk to the guys at CCA. They are absolutely committed to protecting our fisheries. And the only way that we can do that is if we all support it. If we come out in mass and let people know, Newsom and all these guys, this is not a good decision. And California's managed, unfortunately, through politics as opposed to science. And this is one of those perfect examples of what they're calling science that has no scientific base whatsoever. So we got to have our voices heard.
But we got to show up at the end of the day. And I know there was a lot of people pushing back when I was trying to get you all to show up to the rockfish closure thing. And you were like, oh, it's Dave Hansen. I hate him. I'm not listening to him. How stupid are you? You listen to me anyway, even though you say you don't. So get involved, gang. And that's why I bring people like Michael Fowlkes and Bill Barney and the people and the guests I bring in on Fridays, because I know that you guys love these guys. So maybe you'll listen to Michael. Maybe you'll listen to Bill. Don't listen to me. I'm just Dave Hansen with the big mouth and the million followers. You don't want to know what I know. But you guys better wake up. It'll be fun getting you to serve me a cup of coffee at the cafe that you're working at, and you can tell us about how you used to run sport boats. That'll be fun. I'll enjoy that cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's I don't know, David. I don't know. I don't know. I agree with you. I mean, we've got to unite. I don't know how else to do it other than saying CCA. Part of your donation to the history of sport fishing is going to go to conservation. But coming up on the 12th February, a Zoom meeting, doesn't take much. Just turn on your computer and join it and let your voice be heard. Because it's the same thing with us trying to market this film. The networks, or the government, in this case with the bans, they want to know that there's enough people that are resisting what they're trying to do that they won't push it through. And so we've got to show them that there's millions of us out there that care not only about the sea bass and the sand bass and our albacore and bass and barracuda and bonita and everything else, but we've got to protect the waterways. We've got to protect our right to fish.
You're right to fish. That's the bottom line. And it's all about control, gang. This has nothing to do with saving anything. This isn't going to make life better for anybody. This isn't going to make life better for the fish. It's not going to make life better for the sea lions. It's all about control. And this lady who doesn't really know anything about nature is putting these things into effect and rattling the cage and getting all these environmentalists involved and closing stuff that she has no knowledge of what it's all about. None of the people you talk to in this closure world even understand that the fish is a migratory fish and it doesn't live here. And my dad used to talk about in the 50s when the sand bass first showed up and that cycle that you and I lived through. And most of us that are watching the show today, we lived through this cycle, but it wasn't like that in the 40s. When my dad first started, there were no sand bass. The sand bass showed up in 53, 54. And that was the first cycle that they showed up that any of us can remember. Now, there's probably your great grandfather or something that ran a sport boat, but the only person I can always go back to is my father, because he was the only historian that I knew that I could talk to about the barred sand bass and how it showed up. And they didn't even know what they were. They were like, what is this gray bass?
I like what Seawolf just said, that there, mark my words, there's going to be so many people online that they're going to have to pretend like there was a computer problem. So yeah, that's what we need. I mean, you get it. You get it.
I'm going to keep on telling everybody. I'm going to keep on talking about it. I'm going to keep on pounding this message into you, just like I did with the rockfish closures. When you guys were all out there celebrating, oh, they're going to let us fish in any depth we want. And I was like, yeah, but you can't keep anything. Yeah. So, and everybody was so excited to drop 2 hooks down 800 feet of water and try to catch a sable fish, which you guys call black cod now, which Michael and I would drive 100 miles away from to get our passengers away from that. No one on our boats ever wanted a black cod. Those were garbage. Those are hake. We don't want them. Now everybody wants to catch a slimy black cod. Give me 2 reds. Really? I can drop down 800 feet and catch 2 reds? Are you out of your... Yeah, but we could catch black cod now. Shut up. Oh.
I like what did John say? Why does her opinion have so much power? Because she's a political creature. And it's just, they live in a world under a rock that I'd never want to set foot on.
Yeah, I don't know why it has so much power, John. I don't know. I got just made aware of this human being a couple of weeks ago, and I'm trying to get as much information as I can. The last thing I want to do is get sued and throw her name out there, because I don't want to get sued by anybody. But I'm just telling you, when we gather as much information as we can about it, I will, you know me, I'll give all the information away. It'll be on every one of my social media platforms. But as we move forward, though, it's super important that you guys show up. CCA is great, but you can't just throw $20 and think they're going to fix the problem. It's up to us. It's up to the American people. Now, there's a lot of us that are watching right now that would have never thought that Orange Man could have won the election. We all thought it was so, but we all showed up and we all voted, and now we got a new president. Okay? So don't think it's over. I know you keep saying it's over, Kevin. I'm not going to go with it's over. I still think that America was built by the people, for the people. And I think there's a massive shift right now back to the people. And I think that we do have a chance if we all show up and voice our opinion.
And right? Step on the rock instead of under it. Like Darren said, or like Darren just said, you know, you want to step on the rock and not under it. We need to step on the rock. We need to crush this extreme liberal environmentalist do-gooders that just, I think their intentions are good. I got to give them the credit that I think people's intentions are good. They're just misguided and they're misinformed. And yet they shove their agenda down our throats, just like they have for the last, 16 years on the federal level, and as as California goes, the country goes. So
Absolutely.
our votes count. Your voice counts. Trust me. It's like David just said, we all came out from the woodwork and elected a new president. We can do the same thing here, but your voice has to be heard. You've got to show up. You've got to let your voice be heard.
And that's why I think it's so important for the sport boats and the operators and the owners to get involved in this thing and make it so obvious and transparent that we need to show up to this meeting. We don't need to go to Sacramento, like Wayne said. None of us can afford that, but we do need to be online and just like Brent just said, totally flood the thing. Have so many people show up. Show California that this matters to you guys. Show them that it absolutely matters. Michael, the reason I wanted to bring it up while you're on the show is because you have so many of the old episodes of Inside Sport Fishing on all the different boats, fishing sand bass,
Yep.
And barracuda and bonita, and the yellowtail would show up, and we catch big white sea bass in the middle of the spawn for the sand bass. And as you know, all the sport boats were built in the 50s. Are before that, not a lot in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Not a lot of sport boats were built after that, but all these sport boats were built in the 50s and 60s because of the sand bass.
Well, it was a huge demand, high demand. It was the most popular. It was the heyday of the sport. I mean, it was the most, there was thousands of people that would fish every day out of the landings in California after the war.
Thousands and thousands, guys. We would carry 60 people every day, 3 trips a day on the boat I was running at the time.
Oh, yeah. 3 trips a day, morning, noon, and evening. I love the twilight trips.
And we'd have 60 people on every trip.
Every single trip. If you didn't make reservations, you didn't get on.
Yeah, exactly.
For a half-day trip. Ryan just said something about Bill.
5 hours.
I wanted to say, Ryan, that I don't know where you have heard Bill Shedd being an extreme tree-hugging lib turd, but he is committed. His family has been committed, and he continues, and AFCO continues to be committed to protecting, securing, and preserving our fisheries on every level. So, like Dave was saying, hate me, love me, it doesn't make any difference, but just let your voice be heard. The first sport boat I ever went out on was the Westerner, and that was out of Davies Locker. And I basically was 9 years old, grew up fishing that boat. I'd go over to the dock every day after school, run my bike over to the dock. I'd clean the skiffs, clean up the dock. Boat would come in. I'd help clean the boat when it got in, and I'd fish on the weekends. And I'd take my bonita and my sand bass, and I'd fillet them out. I'd carry them around the neighborhood and sell them for 25 cents a fillet. And that's how I basically spent my youth, was fishing half-day boats out of the Westerner there. When it was running out of Davies Locker number 2, which was located just below the Pacific Coast Highway Bridge there in Newport. And
do you remember who the captain was back then? Was it Farrell? Was it Harmon? Do you know? Do you remember? You're such a little kid.
I was 9 years old. I can't remember his name, but I was definitely the fish rat.
Nice.
Yep. I remember the first time I got invited up to the wheelhouse, I was just shaking. I was so nervous getting invited to come up and sit in the wheelhouse and watch him drive the boat. I was like, oh my God.
I made it to the big time.
Made it to the big time. Made it to the wheelhouse of the Westerner.
Yeah. Yeah, Tim Ogilvy, you're right. We're going to go back. I just wanted to bring up the sand bass thing because it's near and dear to my family and my heart. But today is Promar Ahi USA Tuesday, gang. We always talk about Promar products on the show, and today is no different. That GT4 fluorocarbon, we've been talking about it a lot. We talk about it on the show a lot because it's super important to have a good fluorocarbon on your boat. It's super important because what we're trying to do is trick the fish into eating our hook, whether you're using a lure, you're using bait, whatever you're doing, fly lining, using a sinker, you're going to want to have some fluorocarbon. The GT4 fluorocarbon is a phenomenal product. It's super supple. It's easy to tie, very, very easy to tie. When you feel it, you're going to go, wow, this feels like monofilament. Are you sure this is fluoro? Yes, it is. It's absolute fluorocarbon. The reason why it's so supple is because Steve and Ben over at Promar decided when they went to the factory and they were watching the the fluorocarbon be made. They're like, wow, it goes through the roller once. What if you put it through the roller 7 or 8 times? The guy told him, well, it'll make it much more easy to tie. He's all, run ours through there 10 times. This stuff goes through the roller more times than anybody else's. Everybody else trying to get it on the spool as fast as they can and get it out to the stores. When you touch the GT4 fluorocarbon, you're going to be blown away by how supple it is, how easy it is to tie. The invisibility is hard to even imagine how invisible it is in the water. And then the abrasion resistance of this product is absolutely incredible. So, gang, I'm going to throw the QR code up on the screen, and I want you guys to take advantage of this. It's still 15% off, which blows my mind. I don't know why it's still 15, but they gave us the QR code, so we have to go with what they gave us. And so you got 15% off. Go to the Promar Ahi USA.com if you want to see this product. If you're not watching the show online right now and you don't see the QR code, put in the code YSWG and the number 22 as you check out, and you'll save 15% on this product. I'll leave the QR code up for a little bit. I know it's hard to hit the QR code while you're watching the show, but go back, get some of this fluorocarbon. You're going to want it. It's going to be an awesome season of fishing, and you're going to want some of this GT4 fluorocarbon. So check it out, gang. And Promar, thank you very much for being a part of the show. I appreciate everything Ben and Steve do for me over there at Promar.
Everything they do for the industry.
And it's amazing when you go to the website and look, Michael, at all the products that you and I are touching on a daily basis that they make that we don't even know they make.
Yep.
From your bait scoop to your squid braille to your sabikis to your sabiki rod, your fluorocarbon, and all the lobster gear you see Justin and Pablo and Al using on our live lobster trips. That's all Promar products, gang. So you can't go wrong. Check out the website. You'll be blown away. You guys are probably, I don't care if you're East Coast, West Coast, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, you guys are all using Promar products. And you're going, no, we're not. Well, go look. And you're going, oh, it is a Promar. Well, that's weird. So check it all out, gang. The QR code's up there for a little bit longer. Michael, talk more about this docu-series. Why did you make this?
I was over in Hawaii on a vacation with my wife about 20 years ago, and we watched The Endless Summer again. And followed that up with Riding Giants with Laird. And I just realized, I said, that's, nobody's ever done a documentary about the history of sport fishing before. They've never taken our sport all the way back to the beginning. And I thought that would be a great story. And then I found out that the first marlin, the first tuna, and the first broadbill swordfish ever captured in the world were taken right here off Catalina. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, and those are the major species. So the first large game fish ever captured on a rod and reel were all taken off Catalina. So I thought, what a great story. Let's tell the story about the birth of big game fishing. And as that started out, the idea, it just evolved organically into this much more comprehensive 12-part series. So, as the IGFA and Trout Unlimited and Bonefish Tarpon and Trust and ASA and all these people, Orvis, Daiwa, they all got involved and said, what can we do to help you? And they all said, BASS, they said, we're just open our vaults to you. Here's our footage. Here's our photographs. Here's our stories. Use whatever you can to tell your story. So it just cut to content, and we ended up with 12 hours and a 12-part series, which I think is some of the best work that I've ever done. I'm extremely proud of it. And I'm honored to have been able to be involved in making a tribute to the sport that we love, like this history of sport fishing. So I think it's got something for everyone. A guy called me the other day and said, I sat down to watch this. My wife goes, what are you watching? She goes, I'm going to watch this fishing show. She goes, blah. And the next thing you know, she's going, oh, go to the next one. Go to the next one. She sat there and watched me, and we binge watched about 4 hours of it. And she sat with me the whole time. And she doesn't fish. So here's a woman married to a guy that loves to fish, ended up watching 4 hours of the program with him together. So, and another guy just from Connecticut emailed me the other day and sent me pictures of him and his kids. And he says, my kids are 10 and 11, and they can't stop watching this thing. So I know guys like us, the older guys are going to love it, but hearing that the young kids are loving it, it makes me feel really good. So, and somebody said, Kim's doing great. Thanks, Ryan. Best part of my life. I still do live in California. We're living in Laguna Beach. What part of the California coast you love the most?
Catalina.
Yeah, Catalina. I don't know if that's part of the coast, but Catalina is my favorite place in the world. I love everything from OB all the way up into Santa Cruz. Hollister Ranch up there, north of Santa Barbara is probably my favorite spot because it's untapped. It's untouched. It reminds me of what the coast looked like 100 years ago, at least 50 years ago when I was a kid, with abalone shells and stuff all over the beach. But the Hollister Ranch is a real true slice of American California coast. Thanks for, I appreciate all the comments. I just wish we could read them all.
Well, EJ's got a great question. What's your favorite fish to catch?
Oh, boy. Close my eyes. My favorite fish to catch is spotted bay bass. I love fishing the bay bass out of my little rubber boat because it's just me and the fish, and the bite is so subtle. It's just that tip, tip, tip. You just barely feel them, and if you miss the swing, you're done. So spotted bay bass, I think, are my most fun fish to catch because I can fish for an hour or two or a day and come home and have dinner. And my most challenging fish, obviously, is the broadbill. That's in my heart. I actually got to catch one and land it, and it was the fish of my lifetime. And when you look into a broadbill's eyes, it touched my soul catching that fish, and I don't ever need to catch another fish in my life after that one, to be honest with you. And I love catching everything, perch and the surf. I don't care. I love tuna. I love seeing the tuna boil behind the boat. I love getting them to bite when they're skittish. Let's see. Does posting, interacting on the app help you in any way? Oh, absolutely. When you guys post stuff, Matt, when you guys post comments, it's word of mouth. We can talk about the show all day long, but when somebody goes to the site and looks at all these comments from people like you that have watched it and have loved it, one guy says this thing should be in the Smithsonian. Those are the kind of comments that I think convince people to say, yeah, I'll spend $4.99 or $50 or $75 or whatever you can afford. But yeah, so comments and posts help immensely, more so than I could ever tell you. Thanks. Great question. I love the Sierras. Love fishing up there. We got to fish Alper's Ranch. Got to watch the big brown trout try to eat the rainbows, chase the rainbows up and down the stream. It was just, the Sierras are an absolutely breathtaking experience. Mammoth Lakes. If you could have back what would it be? I would like to see the MPAs rotated. You take a zone like Laguna Beach, it's closed for 8 miles or 12 miles, whatever it is. Reduce that down and then move that closure every 5 years up and down the coast. So it's like crop rotations. Is rather than just close one area and let that become really healthy, which is great. But then once it's healthy, rotate it up and then close the next area and let that area kind of rejuvenate itself. So I think moving the closures around would be a great first step. And ideally, I'd like to see them eliminated. But I would say take the closures off of Catalina Island would be my first choice. Have you learned any new cool techniques from Justin? Justin.
You were on the VIP meeting.
Oh, my God. The guy blew me away. I learned more from Justin listening to him for 45 minutes than I'd known about white sea bass fishing my entire life. I was so in the dark. I had no idea. He was an absolute wealth of information. And it was the first time I'd ever tuned in, so I had no idea what to expect. And my jaw was hanging open by the end of the day. The guy was just an absolute wealth of information, and he didn't hold anything back. It was all, this is where you want to be. This is what you want to be looking for with specifics. And this is how you want to present the baits with specifics as you see this, this, and this happen. And the light bulb just went off to me because I'd get out there and fish the backside, pretty much clueless, to be honest with you. And he got me so inspired. I wanted to jump back out and go on the charter with him the next day, but he was already booked. Maybe next time. But he was amazing. He was just absolutely amazing.
And you can join the VIP meetings every month, gang. Like Michael's saying, he's not getting paid to talk about this. He's being absolutely honest. He called me up afterwards. He couldn't believe it. He was honestly sharing from his heart. He was blown away by you, Justin. And Justin's watching right now. So,
Justin, thank you. It was an amazing hour. An amazing hour. Looking forward to getting on a boat and fishing with you when it gets back into bite mode.
And our good friend Mike Lewis has a question for you right there, Michael.
I've heard you mention every place on the coast when you're on, but I've never heard you talk about Channel Islands. I have fished the Channel Islands and I love them, and they're challenging to say the least. But they have the best marlin fishing I'd ever had was up off Santa Cruz, and I think it was 2015. It was some of the best offshore fishing I've ever had. So those islands can really produce. I think they produced really well this fall too, as well. It's just a long drive for me to get up there, and I don't have a boat, and I have run my boat up there, and it's an 8 or 9 hour trip up. So, we go up there for a week at a time. But I love fishing the Channel Islands.
And then Scott Manson, he was just on the podcast a couple weeks ago. He's got the book.
Favorite old lure in my collection is my wife. She's the best bait I've ever had. No, I would say I've got some beautiful old abalone inlaid bone jigs. That the old surface jigs, but the bone jigs for me. I grew up fishing the bone jigs on the Western when I was a kid, so they are really true and close to my heart. So the abalone inlaid bone jigs are my favorite.
And then our buddy Matthew Martin, he said it's a great documentary. Go ahead and read the rest of it.
What is the most wide open bite you've ever been on, and what species and what time of the year? Well, the most wide open bite I can ever remember was when I was deckhanding on one of the boats down to San Diego, and I want to say 1979, somewhere around there, 1978. We got into an albacore bite that lasted. It lasted the whole day. I think we put over 100 fish on the boat, and I was on the deck the whole time. So I was just chumming those fish in the corner for like 3 hours. It was just an amazing experience when those albacore charged the corner and going ballistic.
Oh my gosh!
I think it was late. It was late summer. It was the end of August, and it was an epic bite.
So many of you, we're going to answer more questions. We're not leaving by any stretch of imagination, but so many of you haven't been able to experience this albacore fishing that we're talking about. This is one of the most dumb tuna in the world, because they will actually try to jump on the boat, gang. You have no idea when and if they do show up again. You are going to see some of these guys that have never been able to catch anything. They're going to catch a million of them. This is one of the coolest tuna of all the tuna, because they're very easy.
They're not boat shy. They're not boat shy.
They'll find you. If you don't find them, they will find you.
Yeah. Albacore, when they go off, are just spectacular.
It's a pretty fun fishery, gang. That's if you watch Tribute to Tuna and see the guys lift pulling the tuna in the corner, that's what we got to experience, Michael and I, when we were young.
Yep.
So many different days, lift pulling albacore in the corner, and heaven forbid a big eye or a bluefin would eat your bait when you dropped it in the corner on the lift pull. Oh, Lordy. And hopefully you guys get to see that in your lifetime. A lot of you've never seen one. Mike, same guy, Mike Lewis said, anytime you want to come to Oxnard, he'll take you out.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I may take you up on that. Yeah. Do you get seasick? Do you ever get seasick? Yeah, I have been seasick several times, and it sucks. It's the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. My first time I got sick was on my first albacore trip with my dad and my grandfather, and we had a boat with 85 passengers on it, an overnight trip out of San Diego. And I've got a little Mitchell 306 spinning reel. And so when a spinning reel, it spins this way. It doesn't spin this way. So I'm in the corner. I get bit. I'm puking. on my reel as it's spinning this way, spraying puke all over everybody in the transom. I was 9 years old. I came up to the guy's chest, and I'm just spraying him with puke. And I got one of the only 2 albacore on the boat the whole day. But yeah, so what I found for me that worked really good was no alcohol and no spicy foods before I go out, which helped a lot, and also scopolamine. I think they've taken it off the market. It used to be called the patch. You see the guys with the patch? That's a scopolamine patch, and basically it's a neuron transmitter interrupter. So it interrupts the transmissions of your stomach saying something's wrong to your brain, and it keeps that nausea feeling from coming on. So that's my go-to seasick preventative. Or if you even get sick, I've seen people that have gotten sick, put a patch on them, and an hour later they're well. So that's scopolamine is the hot ticket. I don't know where it's at today on the market because I knew they took it off, but if you can get your hands on scopolamine, it's the best seasickness preventative thing I've ever had. And I have scuba dived a couple times, and I do love free diving. I have problems with my ears when I get down, below 6 or 8, 10 feet. So I don't do it a lot because my ears I can't seem to clear my ears. But I love snorkeling.
And gang, if you guys are enjoying this show, Michael's going to be my guest on Tuesdays for a while here now. He's a great co-host, and we're going to answer all your comments to the best of our ability. The two of us are like a couple of hardcore fishermen. If I peed a puddle, Michael and I would fight over who gets to cast into it first.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's Barry Breitenberg said something in an interview on the film that he said that it's in my veins. Fishing runs through my blood. Absolutely. I just think that's, if it's in our DNA, which it is inherently, I think anybody that gets to experiences it knows what we're talking about when you say that it's in your blood. Fishing is truly a part of your life. It's so much more than just a sport or an activity. It's really an extension of our being.
Yep, and I can't even comprehend living somewhere where we can't fish.
The guy says, I'm peeing in my pants and barfing at the same time. Yep, been there, done that, hated it. Yeah, I'm kind of a flat water fisherman these days. Did you know Dave before meeting him? Did you know of Dave before meeting him? And what was your first impression of him? Oh my God. I think you guys have probably seen every side of Dave if you've been watching him, and he doesn't keep anything hidden. He doesn't really edit himself as he speaks. He speaks from his heart, and a lot of times what he says people don't like, and that's why I think a lot of people hate him, because he does speak from his heart, and he just speaks an unedited version of what a lot of us think. And when I met him, he was one of the hardest core commercial orientated fishermen I've ever met. And his slogan was, if it swims, kill it. and I was like, Dave, we gotta talk about CPR and catch conservation and release and all this stuff. And he just laughed at me. So we came from two opposite spectrums of the sport, that he just loves to fish as much as I do, if not more. But, he also knows the value of a piece of fish and what it takes to put a fillet of fish on the plate. And he's not afraid to admit it. And I think he's come a little bit closer to the dark side, and he doesn't mind releasing some things now. But
I'm going to tell a little story. Michael and I, Todd Manser and I called Michael one day and said, the calico bass are biting wide open at a place in Laguna called Heroines. You got to get down here and come film with us. And at the time, my logo was a thresher shark, and on the tail it said effing them up. And if you guys don't know what that means, I'll tell you later. F and up. And that was my logo. And Michael was like, okay, look, you can't wear that shirt. You can't wear this shirt. I'm going to film you and Todd for sure, but you can't wear that shirt. I'm like, I don't have any other shirt. So I had to turn it inside out. So if you ever look at that, I don't know, it was filmed a long time ago, but it's on the Inside Sport Fishing. There's somewhere in there, and you could see me wearing a shirt that's inside out. And yeah, Michael and I have been around the block a couple times. We've had a couple of phenomenal stories. There's some great stories we can't tell you, but if you come to the PCS show and we're both sitting there, we're more than happy to tell you, but we're not going to tell you those kind of stories where it's going to be on video and people can see it. Are you out of your mind?
There's some good ones. There's some good ones in there.
Absolutely. But you guys, you're all going to come to the PCS show. Michael will be hanging out in our booth. We're not sure what day, but
I'll try to get up there as often as I can. And I appreciate it. It's exciting to be a part of Dave's booth up there, and look forward to seeing everybody. It's a great show. Bill and those guys have put together phenomenal. If you've been there, you know what it's like. If you haven't, you really need to attend. It is the kickoff of the Southern California season, and that's I think coming up in March, the first week of March. So it's laid out nicely. It's wide open. There's a lot of room to space. You're not all jammed in a really crowded aisles, but there's thousands of people there. It's just a fun day for the family. The trout pond and all the music. It's a celebration of the sport. So I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
And it's near and dear to my heart because that was the first, but when this show was very, very small, when it was very intimate, when it was one hall and it was all just
15 booths. There was nothing. There was only 15 or 20 booths.
And it was all about being there speaking, and people would come out of the woodwork to see us speak. And I'll tell you what, the hype was so big, and everyone was telling my dad, you got to come listen to your son speak. And my dad, remember, Mike, I'll start crying.
You're going to start crying.
Michael was right there with me, hugging me. He couldn't believe my dad's a big time legend in the industry. And oh my God, Bill DePriest, myself, Michael, we just were like in awe. My dad was there. He sat in the front row. And it was pretty spectacular. And when I came off there and I sat down next to him, he grabbed me and he said, how in the hell did you do that? And I go, that's what I do. I do it all the time. He goes, no, you never said one bad word. And my dad knows me better than anybody, and he knows my mouth's like a sewer. And he was just blown away that I could stand up there on stage and run around and act like an idiot and not say one bad word. He was pretty impressed.
Yeah, he was very impressed. I love seeing you guys got back together after some of the things you've been through.
That was a long time coming, baby. It was bitching. So there will never be a time where you won't see Kelly and I at the PCS show because it's so near and dear to my heart. And it was because of our good friend, Bill DePriest.
I was just going to say, because of Bill has made that show so inviting to industry type people or original manufacturers. They've made it so inviting for us to come and participate that it makes the audience experience just such a joy. It's a happy place. It's a fun place.
It's unbelievable the amount of people, the way that it grew. And I'm so blessed that I got to be a part of it since the beginning and watch the whole thing. And it's just absolutely amazing. I remember, and you can never get away with it now, but you had that booth at the big, next to the soundstage. The thing was massive. And you and Kim would sit in there and fling out your DVDs. And we've been in this thing so long just to see all that. We didn't have any gray hair back then. We
were young, dumb, and full of it.
Yeah, we were.
The fire marshal came in. We had that video wall, that monitor wall that we built. That was just nobody had ever seen it at a show like this before. It was a big investment, but I thought it would be worth it, and it was. And the fire marshal would come by and say, "You've got to shut the monitors off because you're clogging up the aisles. We got to have people moving through here." So it was pretty fun.
It was absolutely amazing. And you're right, Arnie. My show is absolutely dedicated to children. It's all about the kids and getting them involved in this industry. Absolutely.
Yep.
Just like the podcast.
Absolutely, Arnie.
I was on the Tom Rowland podcast this morning before I went live with Michael, and Tom and I were talking. He produces his podcast the same way. No bad words, no cussing. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there where every other word is the F-bomb, and that's their deal. That's their stick, and hopefully it works for them. I want all your children to be able to listen to us all the time. Michael and I and all the guests I bring on here, we have a phenomenal message we need the children to hear. And it's all about going fishing. And you don't need to use expletives to get the point across. So, yeah, I'm always going to pride myself on making sure that it's good for kids. I want all the kids to come. I shut every time I do a seminar live in front of people, I shut it down about 10 minutes into it. I bring all the children up on stage and I give them all free gifts. And I look right in their little eyes and I tell them, if you hear Captain Dave say a bad word, you're all going to get more free stuff. You know what that does?
Yeah.
They go out there and they sit and they listen.
Yeah.
They're not listening to any other.
No, they're just waiting for the F-bombs.
But they're listening to Captain Dave. They're hanging on. And I might throw a shut up out there or a poop or a SHIT word. And just because I'm watching all the kids and I know they all want more free stuff. So I play with them and I try to have as much fun as I possibly can, because one of those children could be the next Michael Fowlkes. One of those children could be the next Justin Botrell. You don't know, but if you don't get them involved, it'll never happen. Yeah. So I try to make sure that it's all about the children.
Well, that's
make sure all the time.
That's bringing us to the conclusion of the entire documentary series. The final chapter is called Conservation, Children, and the Future of the Sport. And it covers the mistakes that we've made in the past, i.e., all the dam construction that was done in the 1940s and 50s, the reservoirs and the destruction of like the Klamath dams. They've just removed 4 major dams out of the Klamath River, and they're seeing spawning steelhead back in the first time in 50 years. So I think the mistakes that we've made are being addressed, and also the solutions are being offered. So I think as we move forward in the key, Flip Pallett says it best at the end of the film. He says, if we don't get youth, if we don't get the children involved, and we don't give them a reason to love and protect our natural resources, it's all going to be gone. Because if you don't love something, you're not going to protect it. So we've got to get our kids involved, and it's harder today than it ever has been because there's fewer fish, more expensive to do, harder to get to, blah, blah, blah. But get your kids involved. Take a kid fishing. It could change their lives forever. Change mine.
Yeah, it absolutely will change their lives forever. And then, okay, remember, I'm going to put the QR code up one more time before we log off of here. You guys all need to get a hold of this docuseries. Yeah, I owe Rylan a lot of stuff because he was on the boat with us. Oh my God, look at, here is a legend. Here, this guy's got to be part of the Mount Rushmore of fishing. You know who that is, right?
Yeah, it's the Beak.
Yeah, it's Beak right there, gang.
Yep. Michael Hurt.
IGFA Hall of Fame captain, Michael the Beak Hurt. There he is right there. You're definitely part of the Mount Rushmore, buddy. You're definitely.
Mike, I got to tell a quick question. I had a quick story about Mike. When I bought my first charter boat, it was over on Sea Dock there down at Cortez Marina. And I'd only had the boat for, a week or two. And I was as green can get. And Michael pulls in after he'd had his boat down in Cabo for the season and swung it around, backed it in like he was at the Indy 500. And I'm going, oh my God, how can anybody drive a boat like that? And I'm at awe. And he's got all these albacore in the back of his boat that nobody had caught any albacore yet up in San Diego, but he caught them on the way home from up the hill from Cabo San Lucas. And everybody's just at a gasp, he was the god. And so, and we still debut this story. He says he never did it, but we got involved in a tournament. It was the first and only tournament that I ever fished in as a captain. And he was giving me all this dope. He goes, you want to be right here on the mackerel bank outside of the back, the front side of San Clemente Island. You want to be on the mackerel bank at dawn. So we ran all night. We got up there at dawn. And about an hour later, he starts calling in all these catches. And he's at the Osborne bank. So he goes, no, I never told you to go to the mackerel bank. You misheard me. And I go, no, you told me to be right there, and you drove up to the other. He goes, what can I tell you? It's tournament time. All bets are off.
Oh, shit.
He was that was my first and only experience as a captain on a tournament. I said, forget this. I'm not going to play this game. But he after that, we became really good friends. But he was one of the best. They called him the beat because he could smell the fish. And if you've been out there fishing albacore, you know when they go through a bait ball, you can smell them if you drive through. So he's one of the legends.
Yes, he is. We love you too, Beak.
Love you, Michael.
I'm glad that you're watching our podcast. Now I feel like I really have made it to the big time. Gang, the QR code's up on the screen again for Michael's phenomenal history of sport fishing. The 12-part docuseries is available right now. You can stream it. If you don't know how, call me at 949-374-0786. Elliot taught Michael and I both how to do it, so we know now how to do it. Yeah, you never knew where you're going till you left my ass. That's a good one, though.
That's true.
We got another question here, right there from Tim Ogilvy.
How many knots can you tie, and what is the best in your opinion? I think that question's for you, Tim, right? All right, David?
I only know how to tie 5 knots. I tie the improved cinch knot for all my hooks. I tie the San Diego for all my lures. I tie a pretty simple dropper loop. I show you all that on my website. And I only know how to tie 5 knots, and I've been fishing for a living for 52 years. So if you know how to tie a knot, tie it. If you don't know how to tie a knot, don't practice the day you go fishing. That's the last time you want to practice tying a knot, is when you're out there fishing. If you figure out a knot that works for you, just keep tying it. You don't need to know all these super secret knots. Plus, we're not fishing 1,000-pound marlin or 500-pound tuna where we have to have a braid and all those super secret Australian braid and all that stuff that they tie. We don't need that, gang. We're fishing for fish. We're not tournament fishing. We're not doing all that. There is a time and a place for all those super executive knots that these superstars of fishing tie. But I'll go fishing with any of them anytime, and we'll see how we both do.
Tim, my favorite knot's a double San Diego. I'd probably go to that 99% of my knots. I just like the double San Diego. I've used it since I was a kid, and it's my go-to knot. And I probably can't tie more than 2 or 3 other knots besides that. I wouldn't even know what they were called. You know, there's some cool knots out there though, for sure.
So our friend Brett wants to know, how can they follow you on social media? What are you on?
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You know, I don't do a podcast, but I'm going to be with Dave here for the next at least couple of months as a co-host on Tuesdays, which I'm thrilled about. So this was fun. I love getting a chance to talk to you guys and answer a few questions. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the comments.
Oh my God, Michael, we just made it to the all-time. It was cool having the Beak on here. That's pretty cool. But Brett McBride is on here now.
Hey, Brett.
Oh my gosh. Now we know we made it to the big time. I did that to him last year at my seminar. He was so mad. Oh, Brett, it's good to see you, buddy. I hope you're in America. I hope you're doing good.
Hey, Brett.
Good to see you on here, gang. Gang, there's so much cool stuff in that docuseries, but you can follow Michael. Listen, here's the deal. I found a nugget in the ground called Elliot Andrews, and I could not turn my buddy Michael onto him fast enough, because at the end of the day, Michael and I
we're
like brothers.
We're on the spectrum when it comes to technology.
Yeah, we're cutting edge, boy. We know how. And I'm like, hey, you need this guy. You need this guy. I don't know what you're doing, but you need this guy. This guy is the man. And he started working with you right as you were editing the movie and getting ready, and he started putting your stuff out on social media. And what was really cool, gang, it is a huge, huge, huge thing to get 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. It is huge. It is huge. Michael with all of his phenomenal inside sport fishing content, got there like that because of Elliot.
It was because of Elliot, though.
Right.
Elliot took whatever I was doing, which had like 350 followers or whatever. I mean, it was, you know, that site got hacked back when it was Inside Sport Fishing and turned into a porn site. So we lost the whole thing. The Inside Sport Fishing thing just went away when it got hacked. And so I just gave up. And then Elliot, thank God, David introduced me to Elliot. He said, let me see what I can do for you. And within months, he took us from an obscure, obsolete, non-existent site to over, I think we got 250,000 people that are following us right now. So that's
on
exciting.
YouTube.
Yeah.
On YouTube, gang, it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Gang, you guys try to start a YouTube page, or those of you that have one, and try to get the growth that Michael got. Just in 3 years, he went from 350 followers to 250,000 followers, gang. Elliot took me from 2,500 followers total to now total over 800,000. I haven't hit the 100,000 mark on YouTube yet. I'm only at
million mark.
87,000 followers, but I get millions of views a day, which is pretty amazing. And it's all because of Elliot. I'm telling you guys, you need an Elliot. If you have a business and you're trying to, I know he doesn't have any room right now, but it's a definite game changer. And then, you know what's really cool for Michael and I? Because we have Elliot on our team, when we can't use we don't know how to use our phone, we call Elliot. He fixes our phone.
Yeah. Elliot,
use our iPad. He fixes our iPad. He's legendary.
I wouldn't know what to do without him. The history of sport fishing wouldn't be where it is today without him. And I got to thank you for David for introducing us. And he is just a phenomenal talent, underspoken, elegant, caring, concerned, knowledgeable, and just he's there. Somebody, Seawolf just what kind of porn? I think it was gay porn.
Well, there you go, Brett. You'll love that. You'll be on that page tonight.
It was all gay porn.
John Stanley wants to know what's your page name on YouTube.
The history of sport fishing.
There you go. Everything's the history of sport fishing, gang. The inside sport fishing stuff's out there, but it's all about history of sport fishing.
Yep.
That's the number one focus. That's where we're headed. And gang, if you don't know who Brett McBride is, I'm sorry, Brett, I'm just throwing you underneath the bus for a second. If you guys have ever watched those guys pull the giant white sharks up on the platform, and the guy that jumps in the water to maneuver them into the platform with those giant white sharks, that's Brett McBride, gang. He's on here. He's one of our buddies, one of our friends. Michael and I know him very, very well. The guy's done an incredible job studying the white shark. He's been all over the world. He drives the O-Search. He's all over the world following white sharks, tagging them. All the tags you see of the fish swimming around the world, those are tagged by Brett and his crew on the O-Search. It's a pretty amazing deal that he's got going on. You can see it on YouTube. Sharkman, he used to have a show called Sharkman. He's had several different shows. Where it all started was Go Fish, though. Remember the old Go Fish show?
He used to run it for Chris Fisher.
Chris Fisher.
Yep.
And he had that TV show at the same time you were doing inside sport fishing.
That's a story in and of itself. How that story came about, man. That's probably probably for a private conversation at the PS upcoming show there. And yeah, Elliot will be there. And
Elliot will be there. Brett McBride will make a guest celebrity appearance. He does every year. It'll be great. Last year he came because Carl was speaking, so Brett was there. We all were there to see Carl.
Oh my God, Carl's so cool.
Oh my God, I got to have him on the podcast. It was an incredible experience. What that gentleman has seen in his lifetime flying around the ocean is pretty insane.
Yep. I love what Brett's doing too. Congratulations, sir. Keep up the good work.
Here you go, Michael. This is a great tribute to you. Read that.
Coming in late to the show. Great stuff, guys. Michael is not only a great historian, but also a voice of the essence of something. His work captures the spirit of not only oh man. Samuel, thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. That's Those are very kind words. And, you know, like Dave was saying, I've been sitting in this editing suite for 4 years. You can tell by my nice tan. I've been out in the water a lot. Been on the boat like once in 4 years. I've been under these lights for 4 years, so I'm coming out from underneath one of those rocks, and it's really nice to hear what you guys are saying, because honestly, I've lost perspective. I can't tell if I'm looking at the forest or the bark of a tree, and whether or not it's any good. So thank you so much for the positive comments and your support, and it just means the world to me. And make your comments, post them up, tell your friends, let them know. Let's get the word out here, and let's see if we can really help secure our fisheries in this sport for generations to come by being a united group of people.
And then here's a challenge for everybody. Download the History of Sport Fishing. I'll put the QR code up again. Grab a hold of it. Watch a couple episodes between now and Tuesday. And then there's no other show. You can't go watch a show on Netflix and then talk to the guy that made it. You guys watch some of this stuff and then come back here on Tuesday, next Tuesday, with Michael and I, and ask him about anything you want.
Anything you want to ask.
That's pretty insane. There's nobody doing what we're doing. There's nobody out there doing what we're doing. Like I say on my website, you got access to me. If you're a member of my website, you get to talk to Justin Botrell, you get to talk to Al Clowers, you get to talk to Pablo, and you get to talk to me. We give you guys our phone numbers. Right here, you're going to get to talk to Michael. You're going to get to talk to him all day next Tuesday. He's going to be with us. I think it's going to be for a long time.
I hope so. It's fun.
We'll see what happens, but it's definitely a big bonus to our show. My wife's super excited to have Michael on the show. She's super excited that you're going to make a guest celebrity appearance at the PCS show and hang out in our booth.
I'm excited to be a guest celebrity at your show.
She's like, oh my God, the booth is already crowded enough. Are you sure? It's going to be bitching.
It'll be fun.
So good. We'll just build a little barricade in the back so people can't touch you.
Yeah, there's a comment up there from Seawolf about Brett helping him understand how to handle great whites, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Brett is one of the most talented skippers I've ever met. Class by himself.
Oh yeah, the fishability of the guy and the knowledge and the diving. Yep. If you guys want to see something absolutely insane, go look at that old footage of the Go Fish when he used to go out and go dive in all these beautiful places on that little Elliott. That thing is so tiny. That's
60-foot Elliott or something. Wasn't it?
It looks humongous.
Yeah, it looked huge. Wide angle lenses do that.
And then when I first saw it, I was talking to Trailer and I'm all, really? And he's like, yeah, pretty amazing. And I'm all, shit, I thought that thing was 80 or 90 feet.
Looks a lot bigger than it is. It's a small boat.
The thing is so tiny. But yeah, there's so many good people involved with your saltwater guide and Michael and I, and we know so many cool people in the industry. I'm going to put this out there one more time. Remember, when you're hearing these haters talk, they've never sat down with me and had a cup of coffee. They have no idea who I am. The people in the industry, like I always say, the real humans in the industry, they know I'm a good human being. We all hang out together. We have a great time together. Don't listen to the haters. The haters are just super jealous. I got a smoking hot wife. I got a monkey, and I live in Cabo. There's a lot to hate me for.
Sam just wrote.
Here, I put it up on the screen.
Yeah, Sam, by all means, play it 24/7. You got my blessing to play it on the shop for the guys. Play it at the shop all day long. Thank you, man. Don't hesitate. I'm stoked that you're playing it, because it really is. I just want this to get out to every single person that's ever thought about fishing, and I think people that haven't fished, if they see it, may want to take their kids fishing. So it's all about getting it out there and let the word be known. So thank you, Sam. Keep it up.
Go ahead and put the name of your tackle store up. I'm going to let you do it. You got carte blanche here. Put the name of your tackle store up here. I made a video at Sam's tackle store. It's on the website. I went around and I did a bunch of different tackle stores, and I put them on the website. Sam's got a great tackle store. Sam's always at the show. Sam's a great advocate of fishing. He's been in this industry forever. He loves fishing. He's on Phil's show, Tackle Talk, I think on Tuesday nights, if I'm not, maybe I'm wrong, but Sam, you can always come on here and talk about anything you want to talk and promote your business on here. I got no problem with that, buddy. You're one of my friends and I appreciate everything. Island Tackle Gang. Yep. Island Tackle, it's phenomenal. You go inside, you can watch Michael Fowlkes' show, grab a cup of coffee, hang out with Sam, tell fish stories, and watch the history of sport fishing. Go watch about 10 minutes of it and then go home and try not to watch it. Good luck. Anything else? You guys got any more questions for Michael or I? We're going to get out of here. It's been an hour and a half already. I can't believe it. I've been podcasting now for 4 hours.
Whoa, yeah, you had a 2-hour session before ours, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Tom? I was on the Tom Rowland podcast, and then Tom's going to be my guest. And Justin refers people to your tackle stop all the time, Sam. And I love watching Tackle Talk with you and Phil Freeman. It's great on Freeman Adventures. I watch that all the time. It's probably one of the only things I watch. I'm so busy all the time, but when you're on there with Phil and Sam, I'm always watching, seeing what's new in the tackle deal, what's going on at your store.
Brett would be great to have on your show.
Oh yeah, I know. He's stayed in my house. Kelly's made him food. We've begged him to be on here. He's
do a
shy.
show.
He's shy. He doesn't want it.
I know. He was the man that made that Go Fish work, and he was always behind the scenes.
The Oceanic too. Chris Fisher wouldn't be Chris Fisher without Brett McBride. It's just the way it is, man. It's just the way it is. When Chris gets up there and says, I always wanted to do what for 15 minutes, Brett's been doing this his whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But someday, Brett McBride said he'll be on the show. It'll be insane when he does. And you know me, whatever, whenever you're ready, buddy. I love you, man. I'll have you on the show whenever you're ready. Kelly loves to tell people that Brett slept in our house and she got to make him food. She loves to tell that. So I'm not trying to embarrass you, Brett. I know you're
the sweetest.
Trying to crawl into a hole, but Island Fishing Tackle is the place to be, gang.
Now, Brett, looking forward to seeing you at the show too, buddy.
And what else we got? Yeah, he is, right? He is absolutely. Look at Brett McBride telling everybody this is the right man to tell the story.
All right, man. Have a good flight, man. Safe travels.
See you later, buddy. Thanks for jumping in on the show. He said he'd love to be on the show. You know, you got carte blanche any day. I'll stop everything to have you on. That would be pretty fun to shoot the shit. Have him come on a Tuesday with you and me, huh? Yeah, look at that cup shining, Jamie. Her husband made this for me.
It's cool.
Yeah, saltwater guide.
Yep. Nice.
Absolutely.
I had one somewhere here.
Oh yeah, look at that. And hey, you have apparel now. You have some gear to sell.
Oh, I got some t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty basic, but it's nice stuff. It's nice stuff.
Renee has a question for you, Michael.
Okay.
And like I said, gang, we're going to answer them all.
I got to ask the show showing the big bluefin. I think it's Bimini.
Bikini.
In Bimini Bay, the bluefin was from I believe it was the early 1960s when I got that footage of the big bluefin off Bimini Bay in the shallows, which is just amazing. It's some of the coolest footage I've ever seen. And we used a lot of that, and also a lot of the big bluefin were from PEI, Prince Edward Island, up in Nova Scotia, and we've had some phenomenal big bluefin fishing here as well. So I think right now we've probably got not the giants, but we've got some of the best bluefin fishing we've ever seen in the world right here off Southern California.
Oh, for sure. And once again, let's go back to what we were talking about an hour and a half ago on the show. It's all cyclical because you and I spent a lot of offshore days in the 70s and 80s, and we never saw this fish. No one ever saw this.
No. No, if you had a bluefin, it was one of the rarest catches. As I grew up, if you got a bluefin, it was just it was one of the, that was.
There's the store. Look at Elliot. He's the magician. What are you doing here, Elliot? Dang it, Michael. He loves us.
Yeah,
there's
he's
the merchandise store right there, gang. You can find merch right there. Look at that. So I love the logo on the back. Look at that. That's fire, baby.
It's a pretty cool logo. I like it a lot. I think it's iconic. It almost, I just think it's a great looking logo. We got it as a puzzle. I haven't bought the puzzle yet, but I want to try to make the puzzle and then frame it. I thought that would be kind of cool to see it all broken up like that. Yeah, it's a pretty cool poster.
It's pretty spectacular, the gear he's got, gang. You want to get some of that gear. I'll tell you what, if you show up wearing either my shirt or one of Michael's shirts, you're going to get free stuff. We're going to be giving out free stuff. You can wear my shirt or you can wear Michael's shirt, show up at the PCS show, one of his hats, one of his shirts, one of his sweatshirts, carrying that cup, having a cup of coffee in it. Whatever it is, we will give you free stuff, whether you're wearing my gear or Michael's gear. And I just talked to Dave Farron over at Deckhand Sports. He's going to step it up a little bit more. If you show up wearing one of my hats, one of my shirts at the Deckhand Sports booth, he's going to give you a free Deckhand Sports hat, which I didn't ask him to do it. He called me up today and said, talk about it on the show on Friday, but we're here now showing gear. So Dave Farron's jumping in. Deckhand Sports going to be giving away free hats if you wear one. So just think about it, gang. If you show up wearing our stuff, Michael's stuff or my stuff, you're going to get a bag of free stuff. Doesn't get any better than that. Plus, you get to hang out with me and Michael and Kelly. Well, we know you're not coming to see me or Michael, but Kelly Girl.
Kelly Girl.
You guys can see Kelly Girl. She'll be hanging out every day at the show. It's pretty. It's good. We are so excited about the PCS show, and that's kind of why I called Michael and said, hey, why don't you come on my show and we can promote the shit out of the PCS show for Bill and also promote you and me while we're doing it. How bitching is that? And Michael was like, you'll let me be on the show? I'm like, shut up, dude. I would be stoked to have you on the show. My God, you're a legend in this industry. Everybody that's watching today, Michael, grew up watching you.
Yep. Well, these are some great clips from the show last year.
It's mayhem, gang. It's
so
mayhem there. There is so much stuff to see. And like Elliot was saying, he's already selling tickets. You want to get your tickets sooner than later. You want to go, oh, look at that dummy standing up there. You want to get there sooner than later. It's going to take you a couple days to see the show. So come there once on your way home from work, and then come with the family the second time. Once by yourself so you can run around and check out all the cool stuff, and then come the second time with your family. Saturdays and Sundays are insane there.
Look at the amount of talent that Bill's set up for the seminars. That's unheard of. I mean, what a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a good group of guys. There's even a guy named Dave Hansen going to be speaking there. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, Renee just wrote and he said to get fired up to surf, we would watch surf videos to fishing and we would watch your stuff. That's cool. Thanks, man. I didn't read that second part until just now, but yeah, I did the same thing. I get all jacked up watching surf films. And somebody was asking, my biggest halibut was probably 400 pounds plus. And it was up in Sitka, Alaska with Ken Fisher and Seth Bone. And I hooked it and I knew it was a good fish. And I said, here, Seth, take this. And I handed it to him because I wanted to get the camera. And he goes, you're on the bottom. And I said, no, it's not the bottom. And all of a sudden there's this massive head shake. And Seth goes, oh my God, this is a giant. So we got her up and it was, he said this was probably 400 pounds plus. And we let her go, which was pretty cool. But so my biggest halibut was 400 pounds. Hooked it, handed it, filmed it, and released it. I don't know if that counts, but not in the IGFA world, but in my world it did.
Not in my world.
In my world it counted.
There's his social media right there, gang. There you go. That's his Instagram page, right?
I think so. Yeah, it looks like it.
And we were talking about you a little bit ago, Elliot. We're talking about how you took Michael from like no followers to over 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's pretty amazing story. Pretty damn amazing what you're able to do and what we're doing right now, Elliot.
Now, this picture right here has never been published before. This picture has never been exposed on the website before. So on Google, it's the first time it's ever been posted anywhere in the world, which is pretty cool.
And who are those guys?
I don't know, Catalina, black sea bass. You know, I don't know who the boatman is, and I don't know who the anglers are.
Look at how they used to fish, gang. We talk about this all the time in a suit and tie. That's how they went fishing.
Well, that's because it was an elite man sport. I mean, if you didn't have money, you didn't fish offshore because it was so darn expensive. So only the wealthiest of individuals and industry leaders could afford to fish offshore. And it was a gentleman's sport without a doubt. Still is, but we dress a little different.
Yeah, there's the old cat special.
Yep.
Crazy.
That's scary.
Yeah, it is. Look at that old man. Yeah, there's so much cool stuff, gang. If you go down the rabbit hole over on his social media, you'll get just little snippets of what the movies the docuseries is all about. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
That's Frank Lopresti's first boat. That's the Mulata. That was his first. Well, he actually had a schooner, a sailing schooner that he and his dad bought, and they anchored it up and they'd fish off of that. And this was his first a true sport fishing boat, the Mulata, which is pretty cool. That's from Catalina. It's over at the Tuna Club. One of the first true sport boats in Southern California.
Brett, I would love to interview Elliot. That would be a fun interview. We'd have such a good time, but Elliot is super camera shy.
Yeah, Elliot's amazing. He's just
Redondo special. Look at that. The good old days. That's fishing on the anchor, catching bluefin, gang. That's what it used to be like. He's probably fishing right outside of El Segundo or something. It's pretty amazing.
Yep, that's Hemingway.
Yeah, Michael's a part of the club, Brent, and I've been in the club. I'm the only guy that you're going to ever see that's been banned from the club forever.
We won't even talk about that.
No, we're not going to talk about it. We'll talk about it at the PCS show, but we're not going to talk about it online. But yeah, I used to get to go in there all the time. I used to drive a yacht for the treasurer of the Tuna Club. Michael's a member of the Tuna Club. It's very sacred. When you walk inside the Tuna Club, gang, you can feel it. You feel the power. It's just an amazing thing, especially for a fisherman, like a dumb kid like me. When you walk in there, you feel the power. It's absolutely astonishing. It's like if you're Darren, baseball player, you go to the Cooperstown, same kind of feeling. You feel all the old guy. You feel everything. The Avalon Tuna Club right there in that picture, it's still sitting in Avalon. Talk about it, Michael. You're a member.
It's David, you just summed it up by saying when you walk into that club, you can actually feel the sport emanating up from the floorboards and coming through the walls. It is the epitome of the history of the sport. And it's just, that's a picture after I got awarded the Angler of the Year, which was one of my most, I'm so proud of that accomplishment. And the club is truly breathtaking. And it's a tribute to the sport, and it's a tribute to all the men and women that have gone before us, and the tradition of that club to uphold. It was founded on the principle of fair fishing practices. Back in the day, before they started the club, guys would sit on the beaches of Avalon with treble hooks and light chain, and throw it out there and just yank these treble hooks through the schools of white sea bass and yellowtail. And the club was formed to really establish fair and ethical fishing practices, which is still adhered to today within the club. Very strict regulations. Somebody mentioned money. I thought the same thing when I was invited to my first Tuna Club banquet dinner. I was a nervous wreck. I had my suit and tie on. I was shaking. I was just a wreck. And it turned out that these guys, no, they're not rich. Some of them have money, some of them don't, but these guys just flat out love to fish. It's a club of guys that just love to fish. And it's an amazing living historical facility that's as vibrant today as it was when it was born. And it's just, if you ever get a chance to get over there and walk through it, you should take advantage of it. And we should even maybe try to put together a trip where we could set up something next summer and guys could come over and be our guests for a day or something. Anyway, yeah, check it out. The Tuna Club is it's a spectacular facility, and it's all run by the club members, and the club members are all really cool guys that just flat out love to fish. That's what I was blown away with. And first night I met the guys in the club, because I'd always thought, oh my God, these are the elite of the elitist, and they're not. These guys are just down to earth guys that love to fish.
Yes, it's an incredible facility for damn sure.
Yeah, and Dave, I've been invited to speak at the San Diego Marlin Club and the LA Tuna Club last month, and with CCA, and it's just these guys, all these clubs, the Bella Angling Club, they're all guys that just love to fish. I mean, it's so cool to be able to hang out with men that you've never met, and women and kids that all share the same passion, and we're all drawn to the water. We're all drawn to the same experience. So yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, you know what's really unique, Michael, is you never really did the speaking thing. You never went out and did that. So when you first did it at the CCA dinner, you wouldn't believe how many people were just blown away, calling me up, going, "Oh my God, I just got to see Michael Fowlkes speak." I'm like, "No, you didn't. He doesn't do that." And they're all, "No, he was at the CCA dinner. He was there. He was speaking." I'm like, "Really? Yeah, you should feel pretty honored, because he doesn't do that. He doesn't get out there and speak, what you should, because it's so fun to listen to you talk."
Thanks. I appreciate that. I've never, my whole career with this fishing thing was always about the sport. It was never about promoting myself or promoting me. It was always about promoting the sport and encouraging the sport and talking to captains and guides like Brett and you and Frank and Tommy. And I mean, just the list goes on and on and on, coast to coast, and from northern 38 parallel in Canada all the way down to Tahiti and New Zealand and Australia and Fiji. Those guys that fish those waters, they've forgotten more about it than I'll ever know. So, why should I be flapping my jaws when I can listen to somebody that really knows what they're doing? And that was the whole premise behind the show. And it's pretty much been my come from the whole time, is just put the sport first, and everything else will fall into place. And I appreciate all the wonderful comments that are coming in, and kudos and thank you.
Hey, you did a speaking event at the Tuna Club, and you got a ton of signups. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, it was the Southern California Tuna Club, and they gave me a call and said, would you mind coming up and speaking at one of our luncheons? And I said, no, I'd be glad to. So went up and spoke, and it was neat. We ran 3 or 4 minutes of the film, or trailer. I guess we just ran the 2 minutes of the trailer, and then they watched the trailer and started asking questions, and it was easy. People ask questions. It's easy to speak. So. Yeah,
well, there's a ton of people here that are just blown away. They never got to sit and talk to you. They've heard you on my podcast a couple of times, but this interaction thing is going to be key to this thing going bananas here. And we're going to keep this going. Gang, we've been doing this now for almost 2 hours. Elliot just threw that up there, and it's amazing. We have so much engagement, and so many people are just so excited to get a chance to talk to you, Michael. You are a big deal. I know you don't believe it, but you're a pretty big deal to us poor little fishermen guys and gals that are watching the show. And it's pretty cool to have access to you. And I really am enjoying this a lot. I don't think anybody quite knew what was going to happen today, but I think we got a winner here, buddy.
I don't know. I hope so. John was just saying, yeah, I'd love to go fishing on Justin's boat. He was talking about the white sea bass bite there right around Christmas, and how nobody on the backside was fishing. And it was like, he said, you just pick out your fish. They were coming up behind the boat, and you'd see a little 15-pounder go by, and you wouldn't drop your bait in. And all the 30-pounders would come by and you'd drop your bait in, and this is how you did it. And you'd pick your fish, and there was no kelps and no sea lions. So I would love to get out and do a bunch of light tackle. Someone asked earlier about the vintage tackle that the tuna club that I fish with. So I've been fishing all vintage tackle lately for about the last 5 or 6 years. And it's vintage tackle is pre-1952 reels with wooden rods and linen line, just to give you an idea. So you're fishing 70, 75-year-old gear that needs to be reworked, and you're fishing with cotton, basically, and linen and wooden sticks. So it's a whole different challenge. And the thing that got me really excited when I won that award was that I was the first tuna club member to earn what they call a voting membership, where you're in the club, but until you catch a fish, tuna over 100 pounds or a marlin, you're not a voting member. So I was the first member in 67 years to get my qualifying fish. They call it a qualifier. My qualifying tuna over 100 pounds on linen line, wooden reel, wooden rod, and an old vintage reel. So that was pretty cool. And it elevates the challenge of the sport just a whole nother level. You know, I mean, it's almost automatic. If you go out in modern gear, you're not going to break the spectrum. And, you know, two-speed reels, that fish really doesn't have a chance. So you go to a single-speed vintage reel on linen line and a wooden rod and land 100-pound tuna, you feel like you've really accomplished something. So it's fun for me personally, because I love the history. I love the old stuff, and to be able to actually use it and fish with it is really pretty special. And I'm not sure yet, but I think for CCA and Friends of Raleigh, we're going to donate one of my rods and reels from the Tuna Club to the raffle thing.
Okay.
We could probably do the same thing for you too, Dave.
Well, thank you. I got two things. I want Matt Ryan's question to get answered.
Okay.
Of all your vintage tackle you have there in your museum, what's your very most prized possession of your vintage tackle?
Vintage tackle. I would say I have an original Zane Grey rod from the early 1900s. Probably 1920s, maybe 30s. I'm not sure. I can't get it verified 100% because there's no photograph of Zane Grey actually holding the rod, but the colors, the wood scheme, the wood, the way it's cut, the style, and the wraps, what's left of the wraps were all his colors. So JD there up on the island said that this is as close to an authentic Zane Grey rod as I've ever seen that can't be authenticated with an actual photograph of him holding it. So that's a pretty cool rod, is one of Zane Grey's old flat rods, hickory. It's pretty cool.
Next couple weeks, Michael, I think we need to get John on here. JD would be a phenomenal guest.
Let me grab that rod.
There's so much. I'm going to tell you why Michael grabs that rod. I was telling you guys I used to drive the treasurer of the Tuna Club's yacht, and we fished the white sea bass tournament. They have a white sea bass tournament, and I got these guys on the most epic white sea bass fight you could ever imagine. But these guys are the purest of the pure fishermen. I'll tell you what, the limit's 1. Okay, this school of sea bass, there had to be 1,000 of them. They showed up, and we bent the boat, and we got our 4 fish in about a minute and a half on the vintage tackle. And literally for the next 4 hours, you look over to the side and all you saw was sea bass. I was hand feeding them. The trip of a lifetime. The guys wouldn't fish at all. They're just strictly purist, as pure as you could. I go, guys, we could catch them and we're not gonna hurt them. I'm like, what? I go, which one of these rods has the heaviest? Because I haven't caught mine yet.
I remember that. Yep.
I'm like, which one of these rods has the heaviest line? He's all, that one right there. It's got a
6 thread probably, or 9 thread.
Yeah. And I go, what? Okay.
What's that mean?
It could break at a pound. It could break at 20 pounds. You don't know. I'm like, what? So I lob a squid out. I get bit instantly, put it in gear, and you pull back, and the drag's going out the whole time. And I'm all, I got to tighten it up. They go, no, you can't tighten the drag. I'm like, what?
Can't touch it.
I stand there with the rod bent, guys, for I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and you just turn the handle as fast as you can. Every once in a while, you get like a quarter of an inch of line, and you just keep, and I kept the rod bent because the fish was trying to get over to the weeds, and he kept back and forth, and I just kept the rod bent, turned the handle up 950,000 times, and in 15 minutes, I finally got the fish up alongside the boat. The poor thing, he's like 38 pounds.
Exhausted.
Couldn't even believe it had happened. I gaffed him, and I got a fish on vintage tackle. I couldn't even believe it. And because of the fact that I was the captain of the boat, I'm in the book in the tuna club. I'm in the book. So, woo, I made it. Go ahead.
It's pretty cool catching it on the old gear, isn't it?
Oh, no. No,
oh, no.
Man. I could have caught 40 in the time that I caught that one.
Absolutely. Here's that Zane Gray rod. I don't know if you could see it very well, but it's real flat. That's the reel seat area right here. So that's, so it just shows you the shape of the rod. And then these are some of the colors of his wraps. So I believe, and it's a very cool. Anyway, this is one of Zane Gray's old rods. So that's probably my most prized piece of my collection.
That is a beautiful rod. Hey, I don't normally give these haters a lot of time because I just got too many good people following me, but there's a young fella on here named Joseph Lee.
Okay.
Super. And I personally, I never watch anything. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a dumbass. I don't watch anything I don't like. This guy absolutely hates me, and he's watching me, and he's telling everybody this. I have the most annoying voice in the fishing community. News flash, Joseph. We're going to ban you, so you got banned. But if you don't like something, you don't have to watch it, you dumbass.
You have a way of making friends and influencing people.
I don't care. Dude, really? Like, I need another friend. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, another friend.
Went wrong.
You dumbasses. I can't help it. How many people have got to pull up a 400-pound halibut? You're a god, Michael.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing fish. Pretty amazing fish. Yeah, never mind. No reason to talk about it.
No, I got it. And Brett, if you come to the show, I'll tell you the whole story, but it's not to be shared on social media. I totally believe in the tuna club. I totally believe in the people there. It was just a phenomenal night, but it was a bad experience.
Yeah, it was one of those unedited moments. You know? when the words were out of your mouth before you really realized what you were saying, it was too late. It was like they say when you shoot an arrow, once that arrow's left the bow, you can't get it back. So it was just one of those faux pas.
Absolutely. It was pretty funny. It's a great story. You guys will love it. It's a really fun story. And it had a lot to do with the with the war heroes on water, and Dave was in his element. When you get a bunch of war heroes that have been out there doing their thing, and I got so wound up. It was great.
Yeah, somebody just said it's like having a Babe Ruth bath. Yeah, I feel the same way. This rod is like, it's truly like I said, it's not, quote and unquote, air quotes, it's not an official Zane Gray rod because there's no photograph that collaborates that it was actually his. But all the artifacts that, the originality, the year, the hickory, the way the rod was built, and his color schemes are all matched. So it's as close as I think I'll ever come to owning anything that Zane Gray personally fished with, because most of his stuff goes for tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I wonder if see that comment on there? I wonder if that is Rambo. I wonder if that is the Rambo. I wonder if that is Jim.
Got Dave rolling now?
No, General Rambo asking if I ever thought about owning a sport boat out of the landings in San Diego.
No.
If you ask that question, you obviously have no idea who I am. So, unfortunately, but if it is Jim, Hughes. We love you, Jim. My father thought the world of you. And no, thank you. No, thank you. I can't even imagine what you guys have to go through in that whole thing. And you guys are being could you imagine if they shut down Mexico, if they quit letting sport boats into Mexico? Huh. Yeah. So no. General Rambo never thought of owning a sport boat out of the landings in San Diego. My family owns 9 sport boats in Dana Point.
You already own a whole landing.
Yeah, so they do, but I have the best life in the world, Rambo. I live in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. I have a monkey right here. His name's Marley. Yeah, he's not happy. He doesn't want to be with you. I have a smoking hot wife, and I live in a country where you're free to do whatever you want, whenever you want, as much as you want. So no, I'm not, no. And I got a cool podcast and I got millions of followers and no. Don't want to go back. No.
Plus, running a sport boat is a young man's sport. It's a young man's sport, man. It is brutal. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, it's a brutal occupation. So,
and my father had a whole bunch of them.
I tip my hat to those men that are on the boats, especially today, how challenging it is.
24-hour fishing for bluefin, nonstop, all day, all night. There's none of that lay down for 2 or 3 hours, get some sleep on the way out. No, baby.
No.
And oh yeah, and gang, we're having on Saturday, hopefully Michael shows up, but we're having a mullet contest in the booth. And you're going to win a free trip with Justin, whoever has the best mullet. Mine's kind of growing. It's getting there. I'm working hard on it.
Oh, God.
I'm not in the contest.
Oh, you're not?
No, but I'm going to be sporting my mullet. Justin's son is growing a mullet. My friend Joey that's on here right now, he's growing a mullet. There's going to be a great mullet contest at the booth on Saturday. It's going to be a kick in the pants. It's going to be fun, a lot of laughing.
Yeah. Saying, can I grow a mullet? I'm just lucky to have any hair.
Yeah, well, if Justin shows up with a mullet or Brett shows up with a mullet, oh my God, that'd be the day. Those guys are both bald. Yep. Well, gang, 2 hours, 10 minutes. You got any more questions for me or Michael? We're going to break off and go have fun.
Yeah, I had a mullet back then when I did that surf fishing show. That was a long time ago. Mullet and short shorts. little
the old short shorts, the old OPs.
Black and pink OP shorts with a mullet, fishing the beach. It's one of the first shows we ever did.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Bill Barney will be with us tomorrow. Tom Rowland will be with us on Friday. And Kelly Girl and I will be on the show on Thursday with Amir K is going to join us as a special guest with Kelly Girl and I. Amir K, the great comedian. He's just got done traveling all over the world with Theo Vaughn. He's going to join us on our podcast. He's a big-time fisherman. You saw him fishing lobsters with me last year. He's a super funny comedian. He's going to join Kelly and I on Thursday. And then Friday, Tom Rowland. We got a great group of people coming. It's amazing how big this podcast is going. It's because of all of you. So thank you very, very much. Share this with all your friends, like it, and download Michael's docu-series. There it is, last chance.
And I want to thank everyone again for all your comments, for tuning in. I just can't, it means the world to me to see this and to hear your comments and get the chance to talk to you guys about all this. So thank you.
And thank you, Michael. This is fun. We're going to have a good time with this. Everybody, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Turn off the news. They're all lying.